Welcome, guys. I'm super excited to have you around. Market is pumping. I think people are getting excited. What have you been excited about recently about the market?
Trump is gonna do, a move that first of all gonna piss off a lot of degen, a lot of people.
How you guys see the cycle so far? How you see it like moving on?
Definitely, if we just see the cycle that has been changed from 2021 to 2025 is obviously on the perspective of the project itself.
I know you guys have been building around like AI agent stuff. What is hot? What have you been building? Tell us more about it.
Still, I do believe there needs to be more of a work needs to be worked upon on the compliance and audit side for the project to be sustainable.
Cool. Welcome, guys. I'm super excited to have you around. You are busy founders. I know it's like very cool from you to take some time. So we are in Dubai for Token 49. I know you are not based in Dubai, so nice visiting us. Just wanted to say a quick word about maybe like what is the vibe right now in Dubai, Token 2049. You party yesterday night?
Yeah, we did. I think,
Yeah.
vibe is amazing. I think everybody is like getting ready for the new momentum, the new wave in crypto. So like everybody was very hype and very, positive vibe I can feel. Yeah.
What about you, Arijit?
It's all like same for me, like being connected with a lot of people and felt like the momentum, the Jeeziness, all together was like a cool vibe, and I just enjoyed. It's like,
Cool. But maybe before we get started, let's introduce a bit yourself. Arijit, you are CTO of Diamante. Leonie, you are like the queen of Kaisar. Let us know a bit more about you guys. Your current. Let's plot the scene for the viewers.
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Ladies
Yeah.
first. Come on, Arijit.
Yeah, definitely. We should give that opportunity always.
Thank you, gentlemen. So yeah, my name is Leonie, and I'm the co-founder of Kaisar. Before Kaisar, I did a couple of projects, and did maybe one or two exit in the past, both in Web 2 and Web 3. I do invest actively in both Web 2 and Web 3, but when it comes to building, I'm only focusing on real asset infrastructure, bringing real utility instead of speculation to the Web 3 space.
Yeah, you're a tech girl, definitely. Building product, right?
Absolutely,
But you will have to tell us a bit more where you invest and how you invest, okay?
100%.
What about you?
Like I'm being working as a group CTO for Diamante FT and its holding companies. Close to being in 17 years in Web 2, Web 3, in a partially was into investment banking, like close to 5 to 6 years. And the journey was more of like, you see the numbers sticking around, whether it's you talk about Forex, you talk about stocks, you talk about crypto. And my journey was more of like handling all this portfolio in the form of tech. There's been more on the products. And then being shifted towards more on the security and the data side. So this is how I landed on the Web3 side, the blockchain side. Right? And right now, the core focus is on the quantum side. Like when we just see how the evaluation is happening, you constantly keep on monitoring. Like you start engaging from a basic data warehouse to a core data center, and then you start talking about the processing. So we are now more focused on the security perspective of it. Being like this, and I should not say like being a very active investor in that regards, because for me, tokens, you talk about portfolios is in the terms of the take engagements. So if you talk about my portfolio, it's AI, it's blockchain, it's maybe on the data side. So that's my core portfolio.
I like that. Cool, guys. Maybe introduce a bit more about your project, Diamante, Kaisar. I'm investor in both.
Right.
You are two different stage. Diamante is a listed token. Kaisar is like not yet listed. So maybe tell us a bit more, like how did you came up with the project? What is it, and like what is moving forward for you?
Yeah, 100%. So for Kaisar, the story that that got all this started, I think it's because we were, talking. So me and one of my co-founder, we were talking to, the third co-founder at that time, and he was working on a Web2 project, in purely in GPU infrastructure, etc. And it was like, okay, I see a lot of problems, within the Web2 infrastructure sector. How can we solve this using Web3 infrastructure or using, Web3 technology, a decentralized network, etc. So we decided to sit down together and think, okay, what if we do this? What if we turn this into that? Just a bunch of brainstorm session, and that's how it all got started.
Okay.
Kaisar is 1 year old today. It's safe to say that we have been very very happy with our journey, and everybody's like very very bullish on Kaisar.
I am super bullish.
Yeah. When I say everybody, it's like the support cycle and everybody working at Kaisar. And even though we have experienced some ups and downs, for example, that could happen to every project, right? Like VCs not 100% believing that you can be the next tier one infrastructure projects, but you still believe in yourself, and that was the
You have
most
the vision.
important thing exactly when you're a founder. And then me and my two co-founders, we have that energy.
Yeah,
We still have
definitely
that,
have.
and we send those positive vibes to our employees and partners, and then they always stay bullish, and it's just like, look at you guys, right? And so far so good, I would say.
That's cool. Tell us a bit more about Kaisar. What is it? What are you building and so on?
Yeah, so Kaisar is building the universal AI layer compute. What I mean by universal is that I don't want to have any barriers at all. So for examples, in blockchain, you have multiple network. Right now, Kaisar is on peak, but all of our infrastructure can be, deployed on other chains. So
Cross chain.
yes, exactly, without any borders, right? So that is what we are building. The first product that we released following the mindset 0 to 1 of entrepreneur, called the Zero Node. We managed to have 1.1 million of users, and so right now we're waiting for the 1 node, from 0 to 1, and we expect that to have a lot of institutions, like B2B clients to participate in that one. So we're building for both B2C and B2B side. For the B2B side, we have very very big clients like Nokia, TikTok, Panasonic, all of those
Big
guys.
names.
Yeah. And they've been supporting us since day one, just like you guys too. So very very happy with that.
And on the consumer side, you have provided some product already?
Yeah, on the B2B side, because we have, very, very different products. So Kaisar is already, very actively generating revenues on the B2B side, because all of that we don't commercialize on Twitter or, on very, I would say, degen channels. And on Twitter, we tend to post more kind of degen content, products that may, hype people up in the Web3 space.
Cool. Exciting.
That sounds very exciting.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
Arijit.
So we started in 2018 with a very clear vision on the central bank digital currency, getting more into the payment side, right? So as I just stated, like I was been more into the Web2 side. So we got connected onto the payments infrastructure discussion with the founders itself, and I was been working with the bank itself. So I was more into understanding how the treasury works, how the payment system works. So we were just having a discussion on the center table, like how we can just help out to eradicate at least the settlement cycle of the transactions. Where you talk about an inbound remittance, you're talking about outbound remittance, and the things the founders held from a traditional diamond industry, and you can understand like how the entire trade finance works, right? It takes substantial time. Like it's 3 days, 4 days of a settlement time. So a counterparty has been just waiting for your confirmation on the settlement. Like, hey guys, it's been done. I have transferred the funds, but it's not yet received. So it impacts the business cycle. It impacts your business continuity model. So that was where we were just doing a brainstorming, and we thought this is where we just should focus, where we just create a transit bridge. You can do your inbound remittance, outbound remittance, having some sort of a banking partners together, and your settlement cycle should get like reduced to the min. So we were more of like targeting 20+1 settlements, and we did achieve that, right? So first product that we got launched, it was PayCircle, is still live in the US. So like more of like a P2P, transactions can be done. It can be inbound or outbound in nature. So that was something we got started with. Then we started looking forward to other core industry segments where you talk about on RWA, you talk about DePIN, because this is how the flavor of Web3 has been structured, right? So we started focusing on how we can just put more on like focus on the gaming itself. So we had like few of partners who are working on the gaming side. So our network is more of like a simple placeholder. We don't restrict any industry specifically, whether it's a DeFi or it's a gaming. It's as a standalone infrastructure. You bring your use case, you deploy it, and it's ready to work. The transaction speed is very fast enough. You don't need to burn out too much on your like fees on getting it settled. You don't need to worry about how your infrastructure will or like burn out your pocket. So it's a very like easy core model, right? But then we again shifted our like narrative. Like it's now very important. Like when you start thinking how your infrastructure is going to get changed. We know the traditional models or the traditional infrastructures, they still can withhold certain amount of security flaws, whether you talk about on the encryption side or onto the cybersecurity side. There's still a bit of age, but when you start looking towards heavy processing units, where we talk about quantum computers, the first ticker comes out in mind is whether your assets are safe, whether your transactional data are safe. We are communicating at this point of a time, and we really prefer to have any information being very private in nature and should not be like manipulative, right? So this is then again we start doing more of like a brainstorming session, and we said, okay, let's start putting forward to the quantum gen side. Now we already got our alpha launched in this month. So the first layer 1 quantum resilient network that we have, and to be very honestly saying, we have a detailed perspective on the transactional speed. We don't state that we really want to focus on speed, because that doesn't matter, right? If your infrastructure is supportive, you itself gets that momentum of a speed. It's about whether your data are safe, whether you can rely on your counterparties, and whether it's a wholesome ecosystem where private and decentralized world can bridge together. So we're the first hybrid network. We are the first quantum resilient network, and it's a very ultra secure network placeholder where you can just spin off your transactions. You can start communicating with any other network in that regards. Like you have a project in Ethereum, you have a project in Solana, you have a project in Hyperledger Fabric. Yeah. 3 different network, 3 different flavor, right? The consensus models are different. But we see that if they can bridge together to this network itself, so it gives you a broader spectrum. You bridge your both the world itself, you get a B2B like support, you get a B2C support. So this is how the Diamante has been structured. And we are just making our, I guess, the final launch will be on December itself, the quantum proof network. We already have the mainnet live, but it's the version 2 that we are getting launched on the December itself.
I think you mentioned something very cool, is like instant settlement. I think we take it for granted as crypto people, you know, like transferring money, having instant settlement, but like it's so painful, like banking for me.
Yes.
Like transferring funds and so on, it's such a nightmare. And I think crypto is like, I think is what got me in crypto is like being able to settle so easily, so fast, like without anyone like in the middle, like pissing me off. So yeah, I think so. It's a very big deal here. Yeah.
All right.
No, that's cool, Arijit. Really like a good deep dive. I think you are building something amazing here. But yeah, maybe we can talk a bit about like the market. Market is pumping a bit recently, you know. It feels good, you know. It has been pretty dry liquidity-wise for the start of the year, but like market is pumping. I think people are getting excited. What have you been excited about recently about the market? You know.
Well, I think I've been really excited since Trump got, you know.
Yeah, I've been super excited too, and then a bit like, you know, in the middle. Huh?
Yeah, I can understand. Well, actually, I was telling myself that, okay, Trump is going to do a move that first of all gonna piss off a lot of degen, a lot of people, but then after that it's gonna be, the golden opportunity. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna grab that opportunity, right? So when I was talking to people and they were asking me like, what are you holding in spot? I said like nothing. I'm holding tight on my USDT, right? Just waiting for that speech from President Trump, and then then just grapple with. But I've been really excited about this market and how it turns out, and of course as a founder you have to really focus on building, but keeping an eye on the macro economy is like super important.
Very important, I think, as a founder to keep track of things when it comes to the market, because it's how you feel like, is it the right timing to launch? Is it the right timing to release something and so on? And it's so important for you to stay up to date and create the right information, I think.
Absolutely. And also I think that people say that you should not time the market. But I think that has two meanings.
I think you should definitely time the market in crypto.
Exactly, because one wrong timing as a pre-TG project that could destroy the entire project, and very hard after that to bring up the momentum.
I agree. Yep. What's up, Arijit?
So I guess it's more of like a roller coaster ride. People was having a different perception. Trump will do a Wonderline. That didn't happen. Post of which there were more of like a different macroeconomic situation. You were been a part of a frontier. Like there are some war zones happening, whether it's Ukraine, you talk about Ukraine, Russia, you talk about Israel is there. So it's not just been centralized on the digital side of itself. It's more onto the other fiat side, where you're being constantly monitoring how the central bank actually comes up with the figures, whether there will be a rate cut, prominent rate cut will be happening. The treasury is being the overall liquidity crunch was imminent. We have seen the order books were very dried up on. And it's not on the digital side. It was been in the stocks, you see, is to talk about on the Forex side. Every sectors, every markets was been like dried up. And it's true that we all was been waiting. We were just timing the market. So we were been having the capital reserve on our pocket, but we were not sure when to get in, when to take an exit. So it was like, I was just more of like watching the watch list. Okay, maybe the BTC is doing good. Why the altcoins are not doing good? So there are more of like questions. We are answering our own questions. And then we said, okay, let's wait. So this is how the current situation is for me. I'm not sure about what are the rest of the people are doing. But I'm just still holding tight with my reserves, waiting for whether it's the right time to enter or not. That's the situation.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I think market has changed a lot recently. People expect like cycle to repeat themselves and so on. Sure thing, like you have some patterns and so on, but like I think the market has changed a lot. Looking just at Bitcoin with like institutional money flowing in, I think we can see that like Bitcoin has been standing very strong, in the past weeks. I understand, like for people it's tough because you have some drawdowns, you have some ups, you have some downs. But what I feel from both of you is like you have a crypto conviction, and I think what most people don't get is like if you don't believe, I mean, at one point it will be very difficult for you. So you need to time the market while still believing, Like for the past week, I've seen so many guys, just turning down, selling their bags and so on. And basically it's like the worst thing to do, like you want to hold to your bag, and if those guys are selling, it means like they just don't have conviction, And
Exactly.
I think it's a matter of building your conviction, knowing where you are investing your money and so on, and making sure that you hold to it, And sometimes it's tough, and strategy have to evolve, But I think it's a very interesting point here to say like how you guys see the cycle so far, how you see it like moving on. What would be your take, like if we can do a Nostradamus vibe here?
Well, I think this cycle has been, so far very interesting. I would say it's totally different than the last cycle. Yeah,
Agree.
2021, it was another vibe, right? I think that the main difference that I see between 2021 and 2025 is that nowadays we don't focus much on the numbers, on attractions, fictional TVL, may I say, but we focus much more on utility, like whatever kind of project. If we talk about NFTs, what's the utility? If we talk about infrastructure project, what they can do exactly in both the Web 2 and the Web 3 space. So it has been maturing a lot this cycle. So yeah, that's my take on it.
How do you see the market moving forward? What would be like?
Oh wow, I'm like maxi bullish, right? Yeah. So what I can tell you can that can be unrealistic for some of people in the audience, but I can just say I'm very very bullish for what's happening
That's
next.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. About
I'm on her side. If I just say like, yes, being bullish is something that we obviously, as into the Web3 space, we need to be there. Uh, and definitely, if we just see the cycle that has been changed from 2021 to 2025, is obviously on the perspective of the project itself. So majorly the meme coins, the RWA projects, which was not having any fundamental utility, that got hammered badly. And this is how the people started realizing what is the core utility of Web3. It should have a tangible output. It should have a tangible meaning, right? So now the project that we are going to witness will have a core essence of tech, should have a more of like an in-depth meaning of how it's really helping out the ecosystem, whether it's a community driven or whether it's institutional driven. So that is something which is quite evident we are going to witness. And the market shift, that will be more stable. So the fluctuations that we have witnessed is like a hail of like dips and ups. I guess that will not happen in the coming days. It will get stabilized. It will have more of like institutional in-depth understanding that yes, Bitcoin has a 10% uptrend. Ethereum maybe have a 50% uptrend. That will be having a more of like a indicators that shows a realistic figure, and that will be more of in relation with your tech, like the innovation that's been coming up. And AI has been doing very good. I have seen like in last 1 year there has been a number of AI project that has came. They have substantial utilities. People have given more of like a hope and a belief.
yeah, it's
So
going so
the
fast.
DJs are now like they are understanding projects. They really are clearly understanding the white papers, the utility. So I'm pretty much sure that Web3 is now reshaping itself rather than just having a word of Fugazi. It's really now creating a value. That is what I believe.
Don't you think like Web3 is getting toward more like being very product centric, like having very like tightly integrated experience and so on? You know, like we have seen like I think the consumer play by Abstract that has been like pretty exciting, even though ups and downs, but like the tech is looking good and
Right.
like moving forward, I think it will look even better, like gas abstraction and so on. So do you see like the market moving toward a direction where the product is like will be much more at the center of the experience for like crypto users?
I pretty much believe on that because uh, if if you just consider a bell curve, right? You have an inception stage where you still keep on just experimenting.
Yeah.
Then you start getting into a growth phase. I'm not saying Web3 isn't still on the growth phase, but it has just crossed the inception stage. The experimental mode is over. People have started realizing what is the core fundamental of it, what can be the blend of mix and match of the tech, the economics, the VCs at the back, the institutions consideration. So that has actually now creating a blend of like a project or a product centric approach, right? So where initially there were not much of an institutional approach that we have seen, now in irrespective of investments, institutions are putting much of like awareness to the Web3 side. Central bank digital currency is obviously where I can just watch on together. Like there has been constant initiative by the banks, the government agencies. Apart from that, you just see on the trade finance side, look into the REITs, you talk about on the supply chain, you talk about the aviation industry. Everywhere the Web3 has been quite predominantly, they are taking their own space, right? So the product maturity is there, obviously, and it will keep on growing towards more of a nascent stage to like a more of a mature stage. So that is there.
I
Like
think it's like it will be easier for us to onboard like Web2 people and so on. I think both of you are
digital transformation is there. It's a huge
Yeah.
like
I agree.
I have been traveling to multiple places. I've been in words with different tech heads, right? So I have seen the shift. Earlier stage people, we were more of like how we should get them aware of what the technology is. Now we don't need that sort of a discussion. People are aware of blockchain. People are aware of AI, right? So they are now just trying to understand how that can be plugged together, right? Similar like how IoT did, how like process automation did. So now they are just finding out the proper way from transforming the Web2 side to the Web3 side. So that has been a huge shift.
That's funny because I think is a topic that we don't touch a lot in crypto is like B2B side. And both of you are doing a lot of B2B with like big Web2 brands. And I think it would be interesting to get your take on like, what are you doing with those guys? How they are approaching it? Like, how do you see it like moving forward and so on? So it would be good to get your input on this one.
Yeah, 100%. So the way we work with B2B, we have actually multiple category of products, right? For example, for one of the clients that we're working on, we were building the decentralized AI platform for them. You could say it's, white label, but it's more like white label, but building on top of Kaisar infrastructure. And with other clients, we were just providing them the right, infrastructure. When I say the right is because, it depends on what kind of AI training, AI inferencing that you want to do, what kind of task, right? We build a lot of routing, infrastructure routing protocol, specifically built out for them actually. So a lot of customized products one by
because
one.
all those products end of the day is like for big Web2 brands, but those guys, the target is to onboard Web2 people to Web3, right? And we seamlessly, like without knowing there is like Kaisar behind, right?
Exactly. Well, the thing is, they were trying to do that for a long time, right? Because this is something I can actually disclose. We were talking with Nokia, for example, and they were saying, okay, we've been trying to do this for a long time, but board members still afraid of. Maybe blockchain is too degen, is not institution-like enough. So that is why they needed to find the right partners that are, Web 2.5 and understand the concerns of Web 2 clients, people, and how to leverage Web 3 technology and Web 3, people to get into the right niche.
What are you doing with Web2 brands?
Rather than just like focusing on the infrastructure, what we have witnessed with the Web2 side, whether majorly on the institutions or the government agency, like we have been, as it was been stating, like we have been very much focused on the CBDC side initially, on the trade finance side. So when you have a banking partners at your back, right, they have a very strict compliance to adhere to, right? So you need to have a restrictive KYC AML policy. Your CIP checks needs to be there. Your infrastructure needs to be having an audit monitoring systems. So that was something which is a very big challenge for a blockchain side, a Web3 side, right? So institutions still don't believe because there are not sort of protocols been designed to manage those sort of thing. So our initial target was to create products or the applications that can be actually been put forward onto any layer. Whether you talk about a Hyperledger Fabric, you talk about Stellar, you talk about Ethereum. So that was our initial approach. Later, we just started understanding that it was more under the POC side. People are really not, the institutions are really not pushing the products from a POC state to a production state. So for getting those things to be moved from a POC to a production, you need to comply with the institutional mindset, right? So the first institutional mindset that they really don't want the crypto side to be there. Tokens, no, I really can't have it.
Technology,
so there should be, a pure play technology, but without having any sort of a token in a part of it. So we thought of why not to having a hybrid platform where your transactions, your ledger data can be moved without the need of actually having a token. A gasless transactions, that what you was talking about, the abstractions, right? The abstractions, something which we really found out in 2021. That was something we actually invented out, not like an invention. Like the perception was very clear. The institution should not want to have any sort of a payment infrastructure meant for the token side. But now, if it is core institutional focus, how can you help out the Web3 community? Because their play is major on the token side. So now you have to bridge together.
That's the whole thing, with Ethereum. Like I was expecting from Ethereum to provide, like the experience, like the consumer experience, to onboard billions of users,
Right.
And it's where I'm a bit disappointed with those guys because looking at it, I think it's a great, of course, Ethereum is Ethereum, right?
But number of experiments.
I was expecting much more use case on top of them, like facilitating like the experience, providing seamless experience for users to get onboarded, And
so Ethereum was more focused on the public side. So if really you need to work upon with Ethereum, you have to create a fork, a more of like a private chain, right? So then there's no utility of Ethereum. As a token, you're not actually helping out your community to grow. So this is where always we have seen most of the networks have fallen out. They have really not been able to onboard any institution in that regard. Or if you just talk about a private permission chain, you talk about Corda, you talk about Fabric, the Hyperledger community itself. They have various sort of like feature lines. They have different sort of provisions, right? So they have made some sort of an experiment with Ethereum. They call it as a Bezu. They did some sort of an experiment with Stellar. They name it as Sawtooth Lake. So we were witnessing every the structures. What was the tech heads were doing in the industry, and this is where we start off having a simple placeholder, a bridge. You bring the private chain and the decentralized chain under the same hood. That is what Diamond is all about. So if you are an institution and you are very much of having a no-go for the tokens, you don't need to worry about that. Your transactions, your ledgers, your consensus are being very driven with the ledger itself, the consensus itself. But the token plays is more of like accepting your security, right? It's not more of a power play of the valuation. It's a power play of utility, right? So in any regards, whatever the projects that we have onboarded till date, we have major banks. Obviously, our website talks about that very in depth. We have been working with the banks in US, so obviously our network has been very compliant with the US regulations. And this is something that we really are watching for. The institutions, we have been very core focused with the institutions. Now we are getting into the Web3 side and the decentralized side. So there have been a number of utilities being proven. We are yet to prove more onto the RWA side, which we are really looking like how we can create some value on the RWA side. The compliance is very hard. You talk about, we just been working with one of a project in Indonesia. They were been talking about creating the RITs on the network itself. But it's not about just tokenizing the asset. It's about the distribution of the asset, how the valuation will be derived. And that is a challenge that we have not been able to find out, right?
Well, you have seen Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, like really bullish on like tokenized asset, RWA, and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's at the corner. It's just a matter of like, is it the right timing? We were talking about timing. Is it the right timing to get exposed? I'm not sure, to be honest, but might be. So in here, it's more about like when would be the right timing to tokenize all assets,
I guess the timing has been very well set now.
Yeah.
People were more of like having a rejection earlier days. They were not in a listening side. The governments, the authorities, the government, like the compliance agencies, they were still very reluctant on having a clear clarity. But now the agencies have taken a very strong approach. You talk about whether it's in the UAE, we can talk about VARA licensing. Like there were compliance are getting shaped off. ACC is shaping it off. RBI is shaping off for the compliance side on the crypto side, right? And when you talk about the compliance, you automatically create a very clear structure to move forward. So I guess it's a very right time where people start thinking that this is a positive trend.
Yeah.
It's the right time to start investing. It's the right time to start getting more in hand holding with the tech as well as on the instrumentation side. It's the right time, I guess. It's obviously the right time.
So a bit, I think you have shared a lot about like Kaisar, Diamante, your journey with like B2B guys, tech and so on. Maybe share a bit more personal, journey on your entrepreneur, I would say, life. I know both of you are like warriors. You have some ups, you have some downs. I'm sure you have some cool stories to tell, to share with other founders and like inspire people on like, you have like a journey. You should be resilient. You should really focus on your craft, and making sure that you don't like get disturbed, on your vision and building and pushing. So maybe you have some cool story to share a bit with me.
Well, yeah, I do. So far, what I've learned is whenever you give up means you're almost there, and I've learned it the hard way. Obviously, that's why I talk about that. I've never lost track of focus. Even though it may appears to people that I do multiple things at the same time, but focus is I can be 100% focused on multiple things. That's not an issue.
Yeah, we know you are super good with multitasking. Leonie.
I'm a woman. No, it's just kidding.
You are a woman, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the thing about patience and convictions, it really pays back. I would say once or twice. I may lost track on patience. I may have, and that didn't pay back really well. And they say that when you feel that people are giving you hard time and you cannot make it, that is actually when you're gonna make it. And I had to learn it the hard way to realize that, okay, right now with whatever product or projects that I build or I support, we're gonna go to the end.
Yeah.
Not gonna give up. Yeah.
So basically, what you like your journey as an entrepreneur teach you like being resilient, right?
Exactly.
I like that a lot. It was my first takeaway. I worked for a startup back in the days. It was Web2 startup, and the one thing I learned from this founder, it was a French founder in China, is like being resilient is the only thing that matters as an entrepreneur. It's like whatever it takes, we will make it. And yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah.
About Arijit, did it change?
100% relate with every statement because 7 years of a journey in Web3 space, you can understand like how many ups and downs we would have been there, and we have been working very close to the founders, and our founders are very young thugs, right? Young minds, and it really hurts to see that when you witness Gen Z or they really get scrubbed down with the challenges, right? But I have never seen that with my founders. I have been working very closely with them, and I've seen they're being very resilient. It's like, okay, there's been a challenge. Let's fest together and get it sorted out. That has been an approach. And I should say in 2018-19, that was the time where we've been very core focused on the product being getting launched. And then suddenly your partners started saying, shit, there being some sort of a compliance change. So the architecture needs to be again changed over. So you get a instant halt. And if you just see that how the compliance works, it takes a hell lot of a time. So you have been promised for a month of a duration, but it comes out to get almost 6-7 months. So you get a hit on your economical factors. You have been constantly paying your developers, your infrastructure cost is there, your operations cost is there. So you need to be worried about how you need to manage your company continuation, but also you need to ensure that the project that you have thought about, it should not get stuck. So that is where we come around. We have already stated that we are being very, very resilient. The nature has been resilient. So we don't give up with the fact. If it is needed, we start finding out the ways. So, okay, we got stuck in some place, but there will be an alternative way out. So we have constantly been looking out for that, and we have survived every ups and downs from 18 to till date. Majorly from the compliance side, we have done fabulously. You might be aware there have been an incident where Silicon Valley Bank, the major US bank, was been entirely got shut, right? Yeah. So our project was been actually having those banking partners, the underlying partners. So suddenly one of the partners just say, hey man, I'm just shutting down my business. How will you just manage? Because you have your users, they're doing transactions, and you can just say, okay, sorry, my partners is just closed out. You cannot do that. So just having 48 hours or 72 hours of a time to just again roll back your entire application, having sleepless night, but we have not stopped. I'm being very happy with my team, and that's the reason I've said my team is the core of what Diamante is all about.
For sure.
The team, the founders are very clearly having a perception that your team is doing good, your company is doing good.
I agree.
They need to be very aggressive. If it is sleepless nights, they're ready. If it's sleepless parties, they're fucking ready.
Yeah, I
So
think
exactly.
I think the schedule in crypto is very different than
Very
Web
different.
two.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like people getting into Web three sometimes don't understand what it takes to build in Web three. You know, it's like so wide. You know, you have to work 7 on 7.
Yes,
Sometimes it's like
sleepless night.
you go the whole round of the clock. You know, and yeah,
The
you
entire
have to
cycle
pull through.
gets
You know?
changed.
And people should be excited about that. You know, I think is what we really like among like meeting bunch of founders. You know, meeting bunch of founders. You know, here and there, and seeing founders like always hustling, grinding, pushing hard. I think I have not seen much people outside of Web3 working like you guys are working. So it's pretty cool to see. You know,
Oh, yeah,
and it feels like it's
100%.
like the right things to do. You know, so. And you don't complain. People in Web3 don't complain about work, right?
Exactly.
Huh?
They are
Yeah.
like,
Just
They
like
are-
more and
that's-
They
more,
are
yeah?
just like, I want more, I want more.
Exactly.
They're
Just
hungry,
shut up
they're
and do
tough.
more.
Yeah, I agree.
they're
100%.
hungry. There are hungry people. Yeah, always have, like,
Absolutely. Well, especially why founders are hungry, right? Because they want to prove that they can stand on their own feet,
Exactly.
not waiting on VC's money, right? So we haven't talked about VC funding this
Yeah.
cycle, but I think it has changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, the last cycle, people would speculate and bid on any kind of projects. This year, sorry, not this year, this cycle is much more selective. And when, as a founder, you want to prove yourself, right? You want to prove to people that, okay, my ideas, my projects can survive whether or not you are in our cap table, right? So why, there are some Web2 companies like Mid-Journey, right? They bootstrap from A to Z and they manage to do $300 million.
They are a very small team. I think they are like around like 15
very
or something.
lean. Yeah,
a very
so
lean team, you know.
Exactly. This is the kind of models that Kaisar has been, adopting. We stay lean and we can stand on our own feet, right? We have investors and advisors who are strongly believing in our team and projects. Otherwise, we reject everybody. We don't have to, onboard all the VCs. We don't have to onboard, other people's money. We can, prove that we can generate revenues and we can
I
survive.
think it's a big deal here is like generating revenue. I see like among founders there is more and more need for like generating more revenue, not like growth at all cost and so
Yeah.
on. And I think it's very healthy because at the end of the day, like revenue is also what matters. Like is the health of your company, making sure that you can sustain and move forward. And I can see that there is like you guys are like trying to focus like more on the revenue side, building the right product for the people and growing rather than like VC funding. Even though VC funding is like so important, okay? Because without capital risk, it would be very difficult for entrepreneurs like you to build stuff that like nobody wants to get started, and then you put them in their hands, and it's like wow moment,
Yes.
So yeah, we need to have those like venture capital guys like pouring down money
100%.
to support you guys and building and like innovating and so on and so on.
I believe that VCs should be more onto the strategic level, the initial leg when the journey starts, right? Most of the founders that we have seen, inclusive of us itself, we really don't have the depth understanding on the business model side because we are maybe like a founder is coming from a different background, I'm being a techie, maybe there's a marketing person being looking. So a VC has seen a different rounds, a different flavors, right? Exactly. So rather than just being wholly focused on the investments as a tool, there should be more strategic tools that can help a newbie company to get started, kicked off, and getting into the bell curve, like on the top of the bell curve, right? This is very important as like being stating that the selection is very important. There are a number of VCs, there are a number of institutions, but it's become very important that which VC fits with your needs in the business model. If it's a VC who understands the tech very well, it might not understand the business model very well. So there should be a blend of understanding with the founders, and that creates a very sustainable model as a company. So I have seen that the VCs that we have onboarded, the angels that we have, they are very strategic in nature. They have been always in an advisory board. They have been in constant discussion with us. They have given their insights apart from the cash they hold in their pocket. So the 7 years of a journey has been like more of like a merger with all the VCs, and that becomes very important. It's not just okay, that's a bucket of cash, you take it, get started. What if you don't come up with the ROI? So that
For sure.
that becomes very hard.
I think you point out something good. It's like, you are talking with a guy who is deploying capital and strongly focus on like value add capital, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like also what matter. Money is one thing. Of course, it's important. You need it to fuel your growth and move forward. But like value add capital, I think today is like so important. And I think founders are not just here for capital, are much more here for like, okay, what you can bring on the table, how you can help me. Because you have, to be honest, like VC guys, imagine I'm receiving like 100 deals per week. My team is like doing due diligence on all those deals. I mean, imagine the amount of founders that we are seeing, the amount of project, like what is our next narrative, what is hot, what is not hot, how they operate, like all the information we capture from all those founders and so on. It's so important that you need to translate that to all like founders you invested in, because it's like how you will avoid mistakes, how you will like fasten your growth, accelerate your path, and so on. So I think value add capital is such a big deal, and especially in crypto, when you see that like most investors, like even your community is investor in your project, they are stakeholders, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal. It's like very like paradigm shift. Like we have seen, like a bunch of like, we are running a community venture capital, helping our community invest in like a project like you guys. So, it's like about also like getting new users, getting like support from like strategic side of things. Like it's just bringing more valuation, bringing value to you guys, and trying to power you up, and moving forward. Yeah.
Excellent.
And building your vision.
100% building the vision.
Maybe let's talk a bit about like what is a hot narrative. I know you guys have been building around like AI agent stuff. What is hot? What have you been building? Tell us more about this one. I think it's important.
Well, there are two things. There are things that, we're building at Kaisar, and there are things that I personally believe in because, as I mentioned earlier, I do invest actively in this space. So first of all, when it comes to everything related to AI, ML, right now we're focusing a lot more on decentralized MCP, or just, MCP in general, like model context protocols. I think that is really, really interesting, to avoid, some original mistake that when you trying to create AI applications, products, layers, it happens. So when it comes to personal convictions right now, I'm really, really focusing on of course, always infrastructure, but also, robotics, reputation market, which is a little bit different than what I usually invest in. Prop tech, especially RWA, is definitely something to keep an eye out, because Kaisar is in DePIN, right? But DePIN, the last cycle was a theory. It was, it was called differently, like machine-fi economy and whatnot. But this cycle is happening, and you can see, for example, on Peak Network, there are more than 50 DePINs. So I believe the same thing for RWA or quantum computing that, these guys are building as well. Yeah.
Because from what I know from you, you are investing in VC, bunch of deals, right? What are the latest deals you have done?
The latest deal, I would say, so in both Web2 or Web3, just Web3 related. So I tend to...
We prefer Web3.
Of course.
Just saying.
I tend to invest more in Web3. I was going to say, always, conviction, building conviction, right? So yeah, just very much AI and robotics. That is the two subjects that I look at the most. But yeah.
How about you, Arijit?
I'm being very, very focused on the infrastructure side. Obviously, the DePIN in the Web3 side, if we talk about it, yes, it's DePIN. I have not still kept my hands wet on the RWA side, because still I do believe there needs to be more of a needs to be worked upon on the compliance and audit side for the project to be sustainable, right? I'm being a long-term investor. I've been very well, I've been blessed on the Web2 side. If you just talk about stocks, bullions, and golds at the part of it. For me, if I just see coming 5 years how it's going to shape altogether, it will be infrastructure, right? There has been a huge shift that is happening towards the data servers. You talk about how the GPUs have been working upon, how the CPUs have been getting redesigned. So infrastructure is where you really need to be very focused on. And as a tech side, we majorly have focused on the application. We have never got much of a crux on the system application side, system engineering. So this is where I really want to see how the like the projects being shipped about. So that is my core area.
Yeah.
As obviously I like said, like we have been working on the quantum side. So quantum is not more of like the application side; it's more on the infrastructure side, right? So that is the core focus, and we've been partnered with one of the largest data center providers. It's a US-based company. I guess everyone have heard about Iron Mountains. They're the leading data center providers. They lease the data servers. They have their own infrastructures, and we have been constantly been in touch with them. We've heard about like how they are really envisioning the safety side of it, the security side of it. That's the reason we are also have been like involved with our security alliance, the Quantum Security Alliance, that we have been onboarding the institutions. We have been going for a launch maybe in a couple of days with that.
Okay.
So that is where we are playing our cash with infrastructure, always on the security and infrastructure.
Security infrastructure, same here, kind of, and like some hot narrative like RWA, AI agents, and so on, right?
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think is a bit underrated right now when it comes to tech trends in Web3, and like, do you have any stuff that come to your mind for like underrated like trends?
That's a really good question. So, in my personal opinion, I think that the reputation market is like much more important than what we thought for both Web 2 and Web 3 space. In the Web 3, just because, you know, the number of scams is still happening every day, just like crazy. And when you work for people, you need to know exactly, you know, what you're getting yourself into. The same goes for Web 2, right? When you go on LinkedIn, for example, right? It's quite impossible to tell whether or not a person is you know, really good at their job, unless you get the introduction, you got the referrals, right? But yeah,
I think it's how we work in Web3. You know, it's like only about introduction. I vouch for you. Okay, who is this guy? Calling friends and so on. It's a lot about like, you know, big family, like sharing alpha together. You know.
Exactly. So when you want it to be another level, mass adoption, you have to bring, you know, introduction to the level, you know, more automatic, I would say.
Okay.
I guess the underrating statement is more onto the projects have been like, there have been a number of projects. Like we have been constantly witnessing multiple tokens are being getting listed. Obviously, impersonation is something which is of a huge scarcity for the Web3. People do need to emphasize on creating a proper manifestation on who is behind the project. There have been a number of rugs. We have just recently found one of the rugs in our own system. So that is one thing that has to be looked forward. But for me, if it is an underrating statement, it's more onto like the emphasizement towards the tech. It's more people are more focused on the token side of it rather than having the clarity on the project, in depth, the structure, the knowledge side of it. So I guess that has been very much underrated, and then it's maybe being kept focus aside on this.
We have been like pushing very hard on our community, you know, like for them to, you know, do your project, you know, like do their research, like trying to help them like get the knack out of them, you know, like on like digging project, making sure they understand all the ins and out, and like, and because it's how you build conviction too, you know, like why I have a conviction in Diamante, why I have a conviction in Kaisar is because, you know, I have done my homework. So I dig deep and like trying to understand what's up, what is the potential, how you want to make it happen, how you will execute upon your vision. And from there, you build the commission and you feel very confident, you know, with your bag and so on. So
exactly.
I think, guys, you should join. Well, before we smoke a cigar, maybe you can let me know a bit about like what is next for Diamante, what is next for Kaisar, and how we can help you guys like making it happen, you know.
So I would say for pre-TG project, what is, you know, really interesting. Exactly. TG is coming, and you know, we're underwater obviously, but I'm very, very excited, you know, for everything that's coming next. So we got the Kaisar testnet. Obviously the mainnet is also ready, but you know, everything takes time. And yeah, Kaisar listing is coming.
Kaisar listing is coming. That's a pretty hot news. Okay.
Absolutely.
I will be very much like, I do relate with the context of Leonie. Like we have gone through the pre-listing like the cycle itself. So the focus will always be different. The narrative on the pre-listing side is different, where you're being constantly focused on how the listing things will work upon, what are the project's way of the community integration, the community side, the partnership side looks like. Post TG, like where Diamond's being listed now, how the narrative should be worked upon. The narrative now shifts towards the collaboration side, a long-term engagement with the institutions you talk about, a depth project that constantly focus on the revenue and keeps a high yield to the token itself, right? So people correlates what is the utility of your token. So our focus is now in being clearly distinct with projects. This is very like high yield the revenue side, and that actually replicates back to the token side.
Yeah.
So we have been working on the network on the V2 side, like that is one. We have for the collaboration and partnership integration, we have been launching our Quantum Security Alliance in next 24 hours, 48 hours. And third is like we have been also planning in some projects which directly not needed with the Web3 or Web2 in that regards, but has a revenue tendency. So the overall model of the business to bring the Web3 structures, the elements of it, or the essence of it, but not deeply rooted with it. And the revenue will again get back to the system itself. So now we're more onto the revenue projections, project projections. That is our core area. That is our focus area now.
Diamante is all about like building the ecosystem, shipping products.
We're talking about the millennials, right? We have to create the millennials.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, guys. Cool. Anything else you want to drop here, or we are good?
I think we're good.
Time for cigar now, right?
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Sure, let's have some good time.